Hey, what's up, everyone? About to get started on the Bell Jar chapters 7 through 10. In my previous stream, I got through chapter 6, but I was feeling extremely sleepy, and I was unable to really engage with the story. So I thought it would be better to just pick it up later when I'm less tired. I am less tired today. I'm not super energetic at the very moment. I might have to ham it up a little bit. I might have to just like hype myself to get myself through this. It's just that my schedule has been a little bit hectic with the transition. I'm going to be in the States for the next month, and I'm in my final couple days in Vietnam. So yeah, bear with me, but I think I should be able to get some interesting reactions out for chapters 7 through 10. I don't know what's going to happen in chapters 7 through 10, but so far we've been getting a lot of exposition. We don't have a lot of conflict yet. We don't have a lot of drama or tension yet, other than just like kind of romantic and social tensions that are pretty typical of, like, I don't know, like young adult fiction. And there are some thematic issues, right? And maybe time era specific issues, but there's not that much tension. Though there is a little bit of foreshadowing of kind of these cruel hospitalization, the cruel sort of hospital practices or medical practices of the era, and some interesting literary techniques that are being used. But on the whole, it's a pretty simple, pretty straightforward story with not a lot going on just yet. I'm waiting for the darkness, the depression, the sort of downward spiral to start kicking in. It feels kind of like I'm at the cusp of a water park ride, like a big old slide, and I'm waiting. I can feel the water, I can smell the water, I can hear the water rushing down the slide, but I'm just at the top right now, and I haven't really begun the ride just yet. I'm sort of just taking in the scenery at the moment. So we'll see what happens soon. Hopefully, before chapter 10, we'll get something that I can sink my teeth into. All right, so let's get into Chapter 7, here we go. Let me remind myself of the last thing that happened. Okay, so this sort of rather innocent girl is very betrayed by Buddy because Buddy had had sex before. Buddy, who was supposed to be this innocent guy that everyone loves. And the thing that Esther, wait, is Esther her name? I just forgot her name. Yeah. The thing that Esther is so betrayed by is basically that he made her feel sexy, but he was kind of acting it according to her. And so it feels almost to me as maybe I'm just a dumb guy and I'm like not getting the significance of this. So if you think I'm missing something, let me know. But to me it feels a little trivial, this thing that betrays her so much, or that makes her feel so betrayed. I mean, it's not something I totally sympathize with or really understand. So I don't really get that part of her character here. That said, maybe there's something about the psychology here that I'm just not attuned to, which would be a little embarrassing. But let me know if you have any insights into that, or if you have a different opinion from me. Okay, we're gonna go into chapter 7. Of course, Constantine was much too short. Let me remind myself. Oh, and something happened. Oh, Buddy got TB, but now we're getting over Buddy. He has tuberculosis, so he's gonna have And she's pretending to have a broken heart about Buddy, so she's kind of saving her face in front of all of her school friends. Uh, but actually, she feels free of Buddy. Now she can move on from Buddy. Okay. So, of course, Constantine was much too short. She's now meeting other boys. Tan, teeth. He had intuition. Openly raking Mrs. Willard. Tennis. So he's kind of also a society person. Too short, but he's a society person. He's worldly. He's connected to the UN, right? Oh, he squeezes her hand. I felt happier than I had been since I was about 9 and running along the hot white beaches with my father the summer before he died. A little bit of background right there. Do I think this is interesting writing so far? I am a little underwhelmed, to be honest, but I'll keep chugging along. Wait, what? I was only purely happy until I was 9 years old, and then when Constantine touches her hand or squeezes her hand, she feels that pure happiness. Activities don't really satisfy her. Which activities? I lost track. Watercolor, Girl Scouts, dancing, and sailing. Okay. And I wish with all my heart I could crawl into her. I do get a little bit of like emo chic vibes, like this is like the forerunner of emo. Um, Adding up all the things I couldn't do. Well, this is not a good exercise for your mental health. Cooking. Can't cook. Cheese and garlic salt. This is actually kind of a funny little. I kind of like this random detail. I like this like last sentence, but then she was practical and a sociology major. Now, sociology major doesn't really correlate with practical anymore, but I guess I guess back in the day it did. Um, I didn't know shorthand, which is a thing that the mother wanted her to learn. Learning shorthand is kind of like, I guess, as a girl in that era, probably the one thing you could do is kind of like learning coding these days. Or maybe to gender it a little bit more, maybe it's more like learning UX design I hated the idea of serving men. I wanted to make my own letters. Terrible dancer. So this is the part of the book that it feels kind of like the feminist stretch. Couldn't ride a horse, couldn't ski, too expensive. Not German, not Hebrew, not Chinese. Not the maps, not geography. I felt dreadfully inadequate. I was good at winning scholarships and prizes. And that era was coming to an end. That is a little depressing. That is actually a little interesting. What happens to a smart girl in the 1950s? You know? A smart girl who is academically gifted. What happens? And this is just a good, I think, prompt for historical research. I mean, what do you guys know about academically driven, intelligent woman from the 1950s? Any facts that you know, you should drop in the comments, because I think that helps make the reading of this book much richer. Wait, what? Racehorse in a world without race tracks. Okay. I see. Interesting. For a academically talented girl becoming a woman, there's really no future. And this is a very famous passage. Here we go. I saw my life branching out before me like the green fig tree in the story. I forgot the story, so I'm gonna do a quick search. Right, this was an interesting story. They look at it and they accidentally touch, and then a kitchen maid starts coming out and they start accounting for the fig tree. Okay. Back to page 88, here we go. I saw my life branching out before me, a fat purple fig, husband, happy home and children, famous poet, brilliant professor, e.g., Europe, Constantine, Socrates, Attila, queer named guys, Olympic lady crew champion. I saw myself sitting in the crotch of this fig tree, starving to death, just because I couldn't make up my mind which of the figs I would choose. I wanted each and every one of them, but choosing one meant losing all the rest, and as I sat there unable to decide. And the best part of this is this last sentence. They plopped to the ground at my feet, black. Travel posters in the restaurant. Swiss, Japanese, African, okay. This is basically like Mac OS desktop backgrounds. And this is funny. This is a little bit of deflation or reversal. Maybe I was just hungry. Maybe I was just hungry. I would let Constantine seduce me. I wonder what that actually means. Oh, it does mean sex. Sleeping with Buddy wouldn't count because he would still be one person ahead of me. It would have to be with someone else. Yeah. Honestly, that is funny and so real. I could totally imagine multiple people reacting this way. Bitter hawk-nosed southerner from Yale. His date had eloped with a taxi driver. Talked frankly about sex. Okay, interesting for that era. Necking madly before the 1 o'clock curfew. What are we? Animals? So necking must, now that I think about it, like what am I supposed to imagine when I'm thinking necking? Are we mostly imagining kissing or are we imagining more? Uh, Let me see. Kissing and caressing. All right, sure. And he went to a southern prep school. Also, a little bit of interesting history here. Specialized in building all-round gentlemen, which is that's very informative about the history of the U.S. actually. By the time he graduated, it was an unwritten rule you had to have known a woman in the biblical sense, as in you had to have had sex with them, with one, and they go to a whorehouse. This is again at the age of like 17, 18, right? Hadn't even taken off her dress, wouldn't turn off the light, rat-colored skin. So he had had her under a fly-spotted 25-watt bulb. It was nothing like it was cracked up to be. It was as boring as going to the toilet. Maybe if you loved, it wouldn't be so boring. He would never go to bed with somebody he loved. So he's kind of disgusted by sex. Interesting. It's interesting. This is like a piece of, it's like a detail and like a kind of psychological experience that I don't think we really enter these days, because kids at the age of 17 and 18, they don't go to the whorehouse for their coming of age ritual, right? We don't. That's I don't know. Maybe it's normal where you're from, but I cannot imagine anywhere in America where that's normal right now, except maybe like really far away from the cities or really deep into like hyper rich territory. Interesting. I mean, sociologically, it's interesting because this kind of thing probably has existed across multiple countries, multiple cultures, multiple centuries, multiple millennia. But yeah, I'm just trying to imagine some modern day analog, but I can't. Modern day, sort of modern American analog. I mean, honestly, the discourse in America is so sanitized that we can't really talk about this openly. All right, well, whatever. He had already done it. He didn't seem dirty-minded or silly. He might be able to love me. Surprisingly like his older sister's face. No use. Okay, so we dump him. All right, Constantine's turn is up. Mature, considerate. He would not brag. He's not like a college boy. He's a real man. And there would be a pleasant irony in sleeping with a man Mrs. Willard had introduced me to, so that you can kind of blame her for it. Never under any circumstances go with a man to a man's room. And he invited her to come hear some balalaika records. Got it. I'm very fond of balalaika. I knew I might have a baby. Married woman lawyer with children called in defense of chastity. Give all the reasons a girl shouldn't sleep with anybody. Man's world is different from a woman's world. Man's emotions are different from a woman's emotions. Only marriage brings the two worlds together. Dude, if I was in public school, man, as a teacher, this stream would put me in a lot of trouble. Jesus. Okay, so a lot of sex, man. A lot of sex in this one. Here we go. But this is and this is my position, guys, for all the high schoolers out there who may or may not have experience or whatever. Sex is a complicated problem. There's moral considerations, there's social considerations, there's religious considerations, there's like literal biological considerations. There are so many things tied up in sex, and and cultures have varying responses and varying ways of, I don't know, controlling sex or not controlling sex, or talking about sex or not talking about sex, of introducing sex or not introducing sex to the younger generations. You know, it's a very complex problem. A sort of perennial problem, sort of innate to just mankind, or well, it's a problem in as far as we make it a problem, but civilization turns sex into a problem because there's things, there's reasons for wanting to control sex, right? So I think the public education system probably can't do anything about it, really, just because of the nature of public education. And private education is included in public education because I'm just talking about the general national project of educating our children. But in terms of just growing up, in terms of just you are a 10-year-old, you're a 13-year-old, you're a 15-year-old, you're an 18-year-old, like you're growing up, right? And in terms of getting introduced to the world, I think it's important for you to learn what people have said about sex. That doesn't mean you agree with the first opinion you hear. You actually wait and hear more opinions, right? And come to understand the experiences of people, the sort of built-up traditions, and maybe why the traditions have come around. There are rituals and even mythologies around it, and kind of learning how to be human in this one particular lens, right? Through this one particular lens of sex, like that is in the project of becoming human, becoming an adult, becoming a mature, responsible citizen, and future father, future husband, future wife, future mother, future sister, whatever, right? Future teacher, potentially, future coach. Like it's something that it's just, there's no avoiding it. You have to learn. Like, as much as adult figures, for some of you guys who are younger viewers of mine, as much as adult figures would feel extremely uncomfortable talking about it, and uncomfortable having you even potentially listen to me, some other random adults talking about it. It's like, forget my opinions, forget this book's opinions, just, it's inevitable. You're going to learn about it. you're gonna learn about it. So my position is just have a wise, like build up your own wisdom, make judgments, be discerning, listen to, try to figure out the worldview of this book. Try to figure out the worldview of Saul, of me. Try to figure out the worldview of your parents, of the leaders in your community, the religious figures in your community, right? Try to figure out their worldviews and make your own judgment. And there will be mistakes along the way, but I think the sort of adult impulse to just completely keep you in the dark is fundamentally counterproductive. And so I will continue to permit myself to react honestly to these little passages about sex in this story. Okay? That long disclaimer out of the way, here we go, right back into chapter 7. The best men wanted to be pure for their wives. Okay, good. Catching up on where we were, we have a woman lawyer, and we have a woman lawyer's column on how you should be saving sex for marriage. Here we go. Best men want to be pure for their wives. Even if they weren't pure, they want to be the best. They want to be the ones to teach their wives about sex. Interesting. That's no longer a way we think about sex, at least in America, in 21st century America, at least not in the cities. Of course, they would try to persuade a girl to have sex and say they would marry her later. But as soon as she gave in, they would lose all respect for her. This is classic. And, I think there's a reason why this kind of advice gets repeated throughout the ages. This is not this is not new to the 21st century or anything like that. So I think it's worth examining why this is a recurring motif throughout history. If she did that, she would do that with other men, make her own life miserable. Better safe than sorry. You'd really be in a pickle, which is pregnancy. Now, the one thing this article didn't seem to me to consider was how a girl felt. What about my horniness? It might be nice to be pure and then marry a pure man, but what if he wasn't pure, the way Buddy Willard was? This is such a big betrayal. I couldn't stand the idea of a woman having to have a single pure life and a man being able to have a double life, one pure, one not. And I remember that feeling. I was on the flip side of that coin, but I was also very religious when I was your age. And I remember very painfully that feeling. Like, what if the woman I love was not pure? Even though I was pure. That was such a painful feeling to even think about. Finally, I decided that if it was so difficult to find a red-blooded, intelligent man who was still pure, I might as well forget about staying pure too. When I was 19, pureness was the great issue. Oof. Yeah. I saw the world as the... Wow, that's such an insane sentence. Instead of the world being divided up into Catholics or Protestants or Republicans and Democrats or white men and black men or even men and women, I saw the world divided into people who had slept with somebody and people who hadn't. Wow. But that does remind me how big of a deal sex is when you're young and you're figuring out how the world works. It's like a different epoch, right? It's like you're entering a different world, and you're in a previous world or whatever. You're like in the tutorial part of the video game. You're not even in the real game or something like that. It's kind of what it is. I thought it would be the way I'd feel if I ever visited Europe. I'd see a little Constantine in my eye in the mirror. We lounged on his balcony. He showed no desire. Did he have a girlfriend? He said no. She's drunk. And she goes and lies down on his bed. He lay down by my side, his hand under his head, staring at the ceiling. This doesn't feel like the actions of a man who's about to take advantage of this situation. I thought he must be the most beautiful man I'd ever seen. Short, dark, and handsome. If only, and this is that insecurity, that female insecurity, if only I had this different kind of face, or this different kind of conversational skill, or if I was famous, then he might actually want to sleep with me. And then she has this, again, this sort of neurotic, ongoing thinking. Her mind is like, she keeps going back and forth on this. He wouldn't do at all. He wouldn't do at all. Wait. Oh, wait, yeah. This sort of ongoing... Oh, no, sorry. I just misunderstood this he. The he is this just generic man. She would never be satisfied. There would be no man that she would actually want to have sex with. That's one of the reasons I never wanted to get married. Last thing I wanted was infinite security and to be the place an arrow shoots off from. Which is the thing that Buddy's mom says. A woman is supposed to be an arrow that a man shoots off from. I wanted change and excitement. I wanted to shoot off in all directions myself, like the colored arrows from a rocket. I woke to the sound of rain. Unfamiliar window. Ghostly, exploratory finger, and slid off into nothing again. I kind of like that creepiness. A green eye, that's also kind of creepy, glowed on the bed beside me. Three o'clock. They didn't have sex. I had never fallen asleep beside a man before. I tried to imagine if he were my husband, what would it be like? Getting up at 7, cooking him eggs and bacon. No, this is not for the SAT. Welcome to the stream. It would mean getting up at 7, cooking him eggs and bacon and toast and coffee and dotting about my nightgown and curlers after he left for work to wash up dirty plates, make the bed. This seemed a dreary, wasted life for a girl with 15 years of straight A's, yeah. She'd been a private school teacher herself. She was also smart. Man, multiple generations of women just not really having options, huh? Oh, she had spent weeks making a rug, and it just became a foot rug. A mat, I mean. Her to flatten out underneath his feet like Mrs. Willard's kitchen mat. Okay. And this is like one of those... So this, this novel reminds me that I kind of get it, right? I see why this would be popular with like younger girls, kind of navigating the world, because that's literally what this story is. It's a coming of age for a young woman who is maybe around 20-ish in the 1950s. Coming from the countryside or the suburbs into the city and figuring out her place in the world. especially since she's a smart girl. And only and the kinds of girls in 2024 who would pick up the bell jar and actually read it are the smart girls of the world, the ones that are academically driven to read Sylvia Plath or people like Sylvia Plath. Ah, what a but here we are 70 years later, and have we really solved the problem? I think there's been progress, right? There has been progress, but structurally, has it been changed in any fundamental way? I'll leave that to you to think about. Phew, that's a relief. Now we can stop pretending and be ourselves. Ugh, that's not a nice thing to say. Oof, oof, that's actually more painful. This sentence is more painful to me than anything else so far, honestly. That is really not a nice thing to say. Oof, this is also kind of, yeah. That must also feel terrible, honestly, as a woman, as a young woman learning to, utilize her intellectual gifts. Having another intellectual peer like Buddy, who is in Yale, telling you that, hey, once you have kids, you're not going to want to write poetry anymore anyway, right? And saying that with a sort of like an arrogant man's confidence, that would hurt. That would be annoying. That would be frustrating. It was like being brainwashed. You'd be a slave in a totalitarian state. His eyes were full of love. Oh, hang on, what happened? I watched dumbly as a shudder of recognition clicked across the blur of tenderness and deathless. Oh. Oh, that's painful. It's also really well written, by the way. That's actually probably one of the best written sentences I've seen so far. His eyes go from tender to glossy and deathless like patent leather. Great, great sentence there. He yawns, what time is it? And the intimacy is gone. I'll drive you. You've just watched it. Every time it rained, the old leg break seemed to remember itself. Wait, I don't remember her breaking a leg. I don't remember her breaking a leg. Okay, that's chapter 7. We're going into chapter 8 now. I actually don't know where the Adirondacks are, so let me go look it up real quick. Well, that's not useful, Google. But it's like upstate New York and Vermont. Mount Marcy, highest point in New York. Adirondack High Peaks. 200 lakes. Okay, I can't zoom on this thing, but here it is. This is Albany. All right. Day after Christmas, overstuffed, always dull and disappointed after Christmas, apparently, so depressed girl. At Christmas, I almost wished I was Catholic. Why is he taking her for a trip? Kind of creeped out, honestly. I'm not sure what to expect from this. Something serious. But I don't see how any daughter could be nicer than you. Okay, this is like a wish you got married. Oh, wait. Open the car door on the side. Sanatorium. So she started crying, but I'm actually failing to catch the subtext here. What's actually happening right now? I expected a wooden chalet, all attractive. Bomb with your lung. You just lie around very quietly, hoping it won't go off. I kind of like that description, actually. I want to kind of have a visual of a sanatorium because, it's an older type of hospital, right? So I want to know when we say sanatorium, like 1950s, I want to see, like what are we imagining? Okay, there we go. Tuberculosis sanatorium. Wait, hang on. Historic name for a specialized hospital for the treatment of specific diseases. So tuberculosis was a common one. TB sanatorium. Oh, this is going to be a good one. Sanatorium is between a hospital and a resort. There we go. But they were also surveilling their clients, their patients, and look at it looking all romantic and nice, but actually it's not nice. All right. Oh, this is a cool website actually. This is a cool page. Oof, what is that? Mandatory exercise. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. It's a bit of a history I didn't know. Okay, let's go back to the color scheme. Seemed to be based on liver. Uh, Mold or damp. It's kind of gross. Yellowing water, gross. So the medical practices and like the medical institutions of the era are really, they do not look good in this novel, man. They sound terrible. So Mr. Willer was driving her up to Buddy's sanatorium, And I still don't really fully understand the whole. Oh, she cried because she kind of was putting Buddy out of her mind. And I'm guessing she cried because she was just feeling a little off guard at the sort of emotional directness and tenderness of Buddy's father, who really kind of loved her as a daughter. And she's so over Buddy now. And I think there was a bit of emotional and cognitive dissonance there. Let me know if you have a different interpretation of why she cried in front of the father, though. In front of the father, though. Okay, here we go. Oh, Buddy was fat. Everything concave about Buddy had turned convex. Even his laugh sounded plump. That's actually a really good description. It's the eating. They stuff us. Pink disinfectant. Second table, books, papers, clay pots. Comfortable though. Ashtray, I don't smoke. I thought you might like the ashtray though. I guess I'll be getting on. I'll leave you two alone. Find out you be getting on. Oh, Mr. Willard had never been sick a day in his life. Sickness was sickness of the will. It's also an interesting perspective. Who wrote it? Not bad. I thought it was dreadful. Willard. I don't know. Then I said, of course I know, buddy. You wrote it. And she hated that poem. So he paused. Well, don't you know? Don't you want to know what it is? You can tell that in her reaction to his the aura of TB germs and this little pause here, that she's feeling uncomfortable and she's trying to distance herself from him. He put his arm around my waist. I didn't move. How would you like to be Mrs. Buddy Willard? Wanted to laugh. Oh, I'm in no shape now, I know. Oh, he's losing his confidence immediately. I think I should tell you something, buddy. You've met someone. No, I'm never going to get married. You're crazy. You'll change your mind. No, my mind's made up. Dude. God, what a relevant feeling. I feel like I know so many people who have made that decision, right? I guess it's because I was talking to somebody who's similar recently. Well, you were right. I am neurotic. This is kind of her revenge right now. I rapped out thinking, you can't coddle these sick people. It's the worst for them. It'll spoil them to bits. She's actually she's resentful and getting angry now. Scornful. If neurotic is wanting two mutually exclusive things at one and the same time, which is like the figs, by the way, then I'm neurotic as hell. I'll be flying back and forth between one mutually exclusive thing and another for the rest of my days. Let me fly with you. That's kind of romantic. I stood at the top of the ski slope. Buddy had been teaching me how to ski. You know, the one thing that's kind of interesting about this story is just like the variety of settings so far and the kind of variety of characters. This character is meeting a lot of other characters. Um, the city society girl, the European UN guy, the buddy, the the sort of intellectual Eric or whatever his name was, the parents who are extremely different, college campus, New York, ski resort. You know, we're kind of all over. We're doing a lot of traveling in this story. She's being pushed into a little ski slope at this point by social pressure from Buddy. The great gray eye of the sky looked back at me. I don't like that line. Uh, its mist shrouded sun focusing all the white and silent distances that poured from every point of the compass, hill after pale hill, to stall at my feet. Don't be a fool. I might kill myself. I aimed straight down, no zigzagging. But the white sun rose no higher. It hung over the suspended waves of the hills, an insentient pivot without which the world would not exist. It's kind of a memorable. I don't know how much I love that particular line, but it's like a memorable. It's clearly a very memorable scene for this character. Like this is how you take a photograph with your words. You try to express metaphorically or not what you are experiencing, and that little sentence or paragraph becomes your photograph of that experience that you had. And that's kind of how I feel reading this sentence, that she just took that photograph of herself racing down that ski slope. Oh, this is what it is to be happy. Interesting. Because she's the one who wants change, excitement. She wants to be the arrow. She wants to be in motion. There was a typo there. It says space. Where's slave? Ugh. Okay. Plummeted down. Past and into my own past. You were doing fine until that man stepped into your path. Okay, so she has an accident. buddy bent to pull off my boots and socks, shut on my left foot, inched up my ankle as if feeling for a weapon, which is, I don't know, that doesn't sound very, sexy, but what's going on? I'm going up, I'm going to do it again. No, you're not. Oh, you'll be stuck in a cast for 2 months. Oh, hilarious. What a twist. I did not expect that. Okay. I'm going to take a quick break. And I'll see. I think I'll probably be able to finish this. I have to decide whether I'm going to finish chapters 8, 9, and 10 today or not. But let me just take a quick break first. Here we go. All right, I'm back, and I have decided that today it's a bit of a stretch for me to do to finish a stream. Just insane schedule, too many things going on. So I will have to resume and finish off chapters 9 and 10 in a separate stream. So I guess I'll catch you guys in the next run, in the next one. So far, I didn't get to the point of the downward spiral. I don't think we've begun the downward spiral yet, but now with the background knowledge I have from the story, I know that we have just begun. She gets injured, and now she's going to be in the hospital, and this is going to be the beginning of her downward spiral. So I am really looking forward to the next couple of chapters and seeing what happens. Shota, terrible timing. I'm sorry. I have to go. So I will. Honestly, I wish I could pre-schedule it, but my week is so insane. I don't think I can pre-schedule my work. I'll just have to do it when I have the time. So probably tomorrow I'll finish off chapters 9 and 10, and then wait until next week. for chapters 11 to 15. Okay, so that's it for me today. Looking forward to the next couple chapters. I'll see you guys in the next stream. Until then, keep on learning, keep on growing. Bye, guys.